players left. Pulls up, looking for the lead, and got it. Jaylen Williams, 2 seconds, 1:11.109. Now SGA, probing, piercing, spinning, hanging for the lead, and SGA knocks it down. The Thunder finally get the defensive stop, and SGA puts them in front.
I'm Jaylen Williams. You're listening to Topic Thunder.
And welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Top Thunder Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Huntsinger at Thunder Chats. We're part of the Believe Network, and this podcast is brought to you by BetOnline.ag. Now that's out of the way. Let's not bury the lead, man. The Thunder sweep the Grizzlies. They become the first team in the NBA to advance to the second round of the NBA playoffs. Hey, there's a lot going on in the sports world. The NFL draft wrapped up today. Our very own Cone is in Talladega right now watching a NASCAR event. Like, there's a lot going on in the sports world, but this is what matters the most today, Thunder basketball. And I'm very excited because I thought it was just going to be myself. As I said, Cone's in Talladega. Alex is at a volleyball tournament in OKC. Tierney's in Tulsa. Everybody's out of town. Everybody's doing something else. I thought it was just going to be me, but my guys pulled through for me. And we are joined from the Yamology podcast. First of all, come and taste the rainbow with the scouting extraordinaire, Yanni, OKC Skittles. What up, Yanni?
What's up, Mr. Chats? Great intro, great vibes. You know, playoff fights are going on, playoff basketball. It's great right now.
Yeah, vibes are at an all-time high, and especially at an all-time high when I'm joined by the recap thread king, the guy that single-handedly has been carrying me in Marvel Rivals as the Strange Supreme, Alex Dr. Prof. What up, Alex?
Oh man, yeah, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm not going to touch Strange anymore this Marvel Rivals season. I'm choosing to be Rocket main, and even then, I don't know, Elo's kind of strange. And yeah, we'll have to see, but yeah, surely we're going to play another round sooner or later.
Absolutely. I've kind of been leaning towards Namor main for this season. You know, this is what the people want to hear about is our main for Marvel Rivals. But guys, as I said, man, the Thunder have swept the Grizzlies. It looked like it was going to be a really easy series early on. The games in Memphis kind of, changed, like tilted that on its head a little bit, kind of made it a little bit uncomfortable. But all in all, the Thunder won 4 games, the Grizzlies won 0 games, and we are moving on. I guess kind of your big picture from the series, did it go how you thought it was going to go, and etc. Let's start with Yanni.
The series went pretty much how I thought it was going to go. I thought OKC would win in 5 games. I was telling people to put some respect on Memphis's name. They're the 8th seed, but they did win 48 games this season. I thought they would give us a run for our money in some of the games. But ultimately, OKC would pull through. That's basically what happened. The Grizzlies role players, big credit to them, Scottie Pippen and Santi Aldama. I thought they did a good job given the situation they were put in. And they're really let down by Desmond Bane. Jaren Jackson was a bit inconsistent. Today, he was absolutely miserable, 3 for 12. But for the series, he did decent. But it was really Desmond Bane who shot 30% from the field. Huge credit to OKC's defense. And then obviously the jaw injury was huge. But overall, I'd say it went how I thought it would. But what would you say, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think I said before the series that I'm expecting a sweep for the Thunder. We got a sweep, but in the end, it definitely was a bit closer than I originally would have thought, in my opinion. Honestly, I was quite surprised that the Memphis Grizzlies brought out the triple big lineup throughout the series. I think that's a huge credit to Thomas Isalo, who has been coaching teams in Europe, also the most local one in Bonn, Germany. He really brought out some interesting lineups with that. So for this game now, he rather brought in Jay Huff instead of Marvin Bagley. Definitely was interesting to see. But the 3 main guys, Aldama, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Zach Edey, pulled their weight throughout this game. Just had lots of foul trouble, which has to be expected though, because in order to match OKC's physicality, you also have to be physical. And it showed at the end, with Scottie Pippen Jr. and Zach Edey both getting fouled out. So it was good to see that Memphis was trying to match the physicality, but at the end, OKC prevailed.
Yeah, absolutely. And credit to the coach. I have not mastered his name yet. Could you say his name again, Alex? You did it so fluently.
Tomas Isalo.
Okay, Tomas Isalo. All right, I'm gonna practice that. Yeah, credit to him because the whole story with Taylor Jenkins being dismissed when he was is because they were worried they weren't gonna be able to retain this guy in the offseason, and they wanted to make sure that he was the dude. So they feel comfortable with him going forward. And credit to him because his guys fight for him. Obviously, like you saw, Game 3, the effort that they were putting on. Before Ja's injury, before the second half, whatever you want to say, like they had us down 29 points at one point in the first half. And then tonight, down Ja from jump, guys playing with, at one point they had 4 guys on the floor with 5 fouls. 2 guys ended up fouling out, and they were still fighting to the last possible second in a game that, was literally like win or go home, or win or stay home, I should say. And hey, credit to them, for not rolling over in the fight, and credit to us for pulling it out. And honestly, I think it was a really good series for the Thunder because we saw kind of everything. Like we saw the absolute blowout that we can do whenever like all the cylinders are, or whenever we're firing on all cylinders. We saw what I think is more of like a normal outcome for the 1-8 seed, the 19-point victory in Game 2. We saw what it's like to have to battle all the way back in a comeback victory in Game 3, and we saw what it's like for a team just to not want to go away no matter what all is happening for them in Game 4. I think that it was a really good series in that regards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, 100% agree. Definitely showed us that, we sleepwalked to the win in Game 1. Game 2, like you said, it was competitive. It was a competitive blowout, I guess we can call it. And then Game 3 really showed, like, hey guys, if you mess around, you're gonna lose by 30. If you have a bunch of unnecessary turnovers, give up fast break points, the Grizzlies are gonna run up the score on you. That's what they do best, run in transition. And what the Thunder do best is defend in transition. And those two things collided. Memphis only won out in the thing they do best in the second quarter of Game 3. So for the Thunder, that's a big win. Yep. And I have a stat as well that I wanted to share, kind of relevant to this. But if you look at all the games, like I said, Memphis's big thing in the regular season, how they were one of the highest scoring teams in the NBA, is fast break scoring. They only outscored the Thunder in the fast break in one game. And if you look at their totals, in Game 1, it was 5-27. Game 2, it was 3-21. Game 3, it was 11-15 for Memphis. So this was the only game they outscored the Thunder. And then Game 4 today, it was 20-7 in favor of the Thunder in fast break scoring. And I really think that's what the difference was. And even in the next series coming up, a little foreshadowing, Denver versus the Clippers, both those teams don't defend well in the fast break. So a big advantage for the Thunders if they can run up the score in that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And especially with them being more of like a veteran-laden team, like the Clippers and the Nuggets in that regard. Like the Grizzlies, like, they have some guys that have been there before, but all in all, like they're still a very young team. So they are a team that likes to, get up and down the floor and likes to, compete and transition on offense and defense. And that really was a strength for the Thunder. Like that's one of their superpowers compared to like all these great teams, is their ability to turn defense into offense in such a hurry and unanswered. Like that's how we get those 10-0, 15-0, 20-0 flashes, as Rob Perez likes to call them, by turning the defense into offense and by creating turnovers. And it is important to note that while the Clippers and the Nuggets aren't great at defending the transition, they are two of the better teams in terms of protecting the basketball from turning the ball over. So it will be interesting to see how the Thunder are able to, kind of create turnovers in that regard. But yeah, I mean, just talking about the series, like, overarching storylines. I mean, Alex, going into the series, one of the biggest questions about the Thunder in this playoff run was Jaylen Williams. Talk to me about how you feel Jaylen Williams answered the bell in these last 4 games.
Oh, he absolutely answered the call. I think for every reason, I'd give him the belt for this series. You know, like if you listen to our spaces,
Shout out Bower Jack.
you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, he absolutely smashed it for the Thunder. He was so huge, especially in games 1 to 3 when Shea was very inefficient in every single one of those games. He really got to his spots, and he really reminded me of last year's fourth quarter Jaylen Williams throughout the playoff series. But like not just for the fourth quarter, but really for every single quarter. Like he did an immaculate job. Can't complain about him. Played great defensively, scored his points offensively, played within the flow of the offense. Had great synergy, especially with Hartenstein, especially with Chet, and also obviously with Shea. Um, just an incredibly hard to guard second option if he continues to do so for the next series as well.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you, man. I mean, he had over 20 points every game this series. I think he shot over 50% in the first 3 games. Tonight, he was 47.6%. So, like, teetering right there on the 50% from the field goal range. But he's hit 2 threes his last 3 games. He didn't hit a 3 in the first game, but shot 40% from 3 tonight. The one concern I have from Dub, and like it's really just a nitpick, is his free throw shooting, man, because he was 1 of 2 tonight. He split 2 big ones tonight that gave Memphis a chance to, kind of get back into it there at the very end. And I want to say that that's kind of been a trend. Yeah, he was 6 of 10 the game prior. In game 2, he was 2 of 3, missed one there. And in game 1, he didn't take a single free throw. So the encouraging fact is he is getting to the line. But yeah, just need more consistency at the stripe, because he is, as you said, he's our number 2 guy. Like, he's somebody that's going to be relied on, because especially late in games, as we get deep in the playoffs and these games matter that much more, they're going to have not 1 but 2 guys blanketing Shea late in game. They're going to be denying him the ball. And just like tonight, like, Dub is going to be the guy that is going to be called upon to knock down those free throws. And I want to have confidence in him to knock those down. So that's the one thing I would say he needs to work on.
No, definitely. I definitely agree with that. It's going to be very hard for him to get those calls consistently, because he's not really known as getting as downhill as Shea, because he definitely lacks the amount of footwork to really get there, as well as a little bit of burst, like the little amount of burst for the last push to really get to the rim. I think against Memphis, he did a very good job to get there. It's just going to be much tougher in the next couple of series, I think, for him. So we'll have to see how that goes. And yeah, because he lacks those traits to a certain degree, in my opinion, he might struggle to get to the line at times. But yeah, we'll have to see. Maybe that's going to change as well for the next series. Maybe he'll shoot more free throws. If not, then hopefully Shea is going to answer the call, and we'll be fine.
Yep, it's a little bit interesting to see the actual free throw numbers. So he shot 6 in game 1, 0 in game 2, 3 in game. Oh wait, sorry, I read that wrong. 0 in game 1, 3 in game 2, 10 in game 3, and then 2 today. And I don't even count the 2 today because it was kind of a trick play to get Shea to the line, or a trick play because Memphis thought Shea was going to get the ball, so they passed it to Dub, like last second fouling. But anyways, I do think there's some work he can do, especially game 3 kind of showed what the upside is, because Dub was just going to the rim, head down, absorbing contact and going up. And that was interesting to see. I don't know if you see this as well, Alex, but on the fast break, Dub seems a lot more aggressive. And I think that's where this little bit of a scoring bump is coming from. It's just him going to the paint without hesitation and trying to move people on his way there. What do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. Like, he's definitely getting more downhill overall. He's definitely shown more aggressiveness compared to the regular season so far, and it really helped his scoring overall. But then again, he in this game as well didn't really get to the rim except like 2 times, I think it was. But other than that, in the half court, he was always shooting inside the paint. Some very ridiculous teardrops that went in. I remember in the first quarter. Yeah, it's like he's definitely not going to be the guy that absolutely gets downhill. He's rather going to be the guy that has to finish through the mid range. So he's definitely going to get his shots up there and hopefully hit his catch and shoot threes as well to keep the scoring going.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And he's been a stabilizing force. He hit a couple really big shots in the fourth quarter. He hit that big three that he stepped into. He hit a mid range. He got to the line. They're late. And then earlier in the game, man, he had one shot. It was a running floater with his right hand, and it went down so pure. I thought he airballed it, because the net didn't move, but by the reaction of the crowd and everything, it definitely went in. I was just like, wow, that was nuts. Yeah. Shout out Bowler Jack. Said PS, any kid noises only helps the potty. And it says differently is a dorkum loser. I wasn't trying to avoid the noises. It was just Nova's iPad froze and he threw it. And so I had to go retrieve it while you guys were making a point. Don't you do? He did it again. He did it again.
Oh no.
Well, that's a good way to kind of transition here, because I think this is how I want to do this. While I got you guys here, we'll make this a segment. I want to rank the Thunder players in this series, and I think that a good way to start out from that is Jaylen Williams, because I think we can all agree, top to bottom, game 1 to game 4, Jaylen Williams was, if not the best Thunder player on both ends of the floor, he was the most consistent Thunder player on both ends of the floor. So let's go ahead and knock him out for number 1. I teed Alex off for that one. Yanni, I want to ask you, who do you think the second best Thunder player was, as I go get Nova's iPad again?
Second best player, don't overthink it. It's Shai. It's always been Shai. It always will be Shai. He had 38 points today. Finally shot over 50%. I know games 1 through 3 were relatively rough for his standards. But at the end of the day, the attention he garners from the Memphis defense led to Chet having an easier time, led to Jaylen Williams having an easier time, Hart having an easier time. So it's just the gravity he forces does that. And progressively, as the series went on, he got better and better. And then today was kind of the peak for his performance in the series. He had 38 points. And his two-way play as well. Shai played pretty good defense. I don't have stats on what people shot against him, but I'm sure it's going to be ridiculously low. So I think let's not big brain this too much. It's got to be SGA, the MVP, which I think is going to be announced in about 2 weeks, which is going to be a good time, depending on who we're playing, especially.
2 weeks? Is it really that long until the MVP is going to get released?
So last season it was announced May 8th. Today is April 26th. I think they can announce it this coming Thursday. I'd like it if they did, but it might be consistent with last year. They'll just do it around then.
Talking about MVP.
Yep. No, Shai was my pick, basically. Long story short. Yeah. And then we talked about when will the MVP be announced.
Gotcha. Yeah. I hope it's Thursday, because I'm working on something. I've been getting in my bag on some edits lately, so I'm working on something else with a recent trend. Let's just say that there's you guys are familiar with LeBronify, I'm sure. Let's just say I got in my bag for a Shai song. So with that being said, I agree. I think that the whole Shai worries were kind of overblown throughout the series. I guess the real concern, what it boiled down to, is people hate it when Shai takes a high volume of 3-point shots, which if you do, I can't help you. I mean, that's the name of the game in the NBA today. Shai has been able to make a name for himself, and he's been able to rise to the top by, being just stupid efficient inside the 3-point line. But in order for him to take us to the mountaintop, he had to diversify a little bit. He had to add a 3-point shot to his game. And, Alex, we talked about on the spaces, man, the same thing early in the year. People was complaining about the high volumes of threes and these, kind of like experiment games. Like, Shea would just really be trolling out there. Like they would say he's trolling, but he's kind of experimenting. He's trying to, get rhythm, get comfortable with this. And they weren't complaining, January we was beating all these contenders and Shea was dropping like 3-4 threes in the game, dropping 35, 40 points, 3 quarters, whatever. So I think it's a little bit more of that. I will say that it felt like today was a much more deliberate game. It felt like Shea and the Thunder both wanted this to be the final game of the series. They really value that rest. And you could see by Shea's approach because early on, first quarter, I don't know if you've already said this. If you did, I apologize. Didn't miss a shot, like 8 of 8 shooting in the first quarter, 3 assists, had a steal, no turnovers. And he did so by not taking a three. Like he was getting to his spots in the mid-range. He was getting downhill, getting to the rim, finishing through contact. It was like vintage Shea. It was the Shea that people had been begging for. And as the game kind of went on, he got back to the, he kept that in his game, but he kind of got back to the 3-point shot and kind of like, the modernized version that he's trying to get to. And, there were some mixed results, and it's okay. There's going to be mixed results. All in all, Shea was phenomenal today. And without him, we are going back to OKC for game 5. So everybody that's got complaints about it can get the heck out of here.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Like Shea for sure was the second best player in the series for OKC. Like Yoni already said, it's really about the gravity that Shea provides throughout his drives with the whole on-ball gravity he has, because he is one of the best on ball handlers in the league right now, arguably the best ball handler right now. Like he usually doesn't get stripped. I mean, he had the one strip in the at the end of the first quarter. Even got blocked twice at the rim today by Edie and I think it was Bain. But might be tripping here. I'm not sure, but he definitely was way more aggressive in this game. He really took this game serious right from the start. Gave it his all. You could really tell. And yeah, it's good to see that he has that in his bag. Like he knows when to use it, and when he should be able to use the shot. Like my only little worry right now with Shea is that his shot still isn't falling as good, obviously. But like that's like such a marginal complaint because everything else he does is on such an elite level right now that you can't really argue against him. But then again, like I said, like at times when you knew that when he shot not from his sweet spots, you kind of knew that these shots weren't really going in, or you felt like, oh, they are not as efficient, and then eventually they actually break them. But it is what it is, like Shea has to get through it. Like he is going to evolve throughout the playoffs, and hopefully he's going to hit those shots once the Thunder get to the finals.
Yep. Experiment now so that you know what to do in the later rounds. That's kind of my take on it. And a good way to wrap up the SGA talk is with SGA talking on his performance this series. So this is a quote. He said that I'm impressed with my ability to stay with it. In the past, I for sure would have turned down the aggressiveness a little bit. I made a jump as far as that this year. That's something I'm definitely proud of. So I found it interesting to see that Shea acknowledges that. He's just like, in the past, I would have taken less shots, been more kind of deferent to his teammates. But now that he knows he's the guy and the team needs him to shoot 20 plus times every game, he's just being more aggressive. And it's just about finding the right spots and then consistently going at it.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And it kind of makes me think about, like, whenever you talk about, like, being less aggressive, makes me think about the bubble year. And I'm actually trying to pull up in the playoffs because I remember there was one game he had, I think there was 2 games actually. He had 9 and like 7 points. Let's see here. So yeah, he had 9 points one game, and he had 4 points in another game. In the 9-point game, he shot the ball 8 times. And then the 4-point game, he shot the ball 8 times. No, I lied. I'm sorry. No. I was right. Yeah. Both of those games, he shot the ball 8 times. The other games, he shot 17, 18, 17, 11, 11. So, yeah, that's definitely like a source of growth for Shea because whenever a shot wasn't falling in the past, like, he would defer. And I like that, it drives people crazy a lot of the times how Shai's not aggressive and doesn't look for his own shot, like to start the games a lot of the times. And he's deferring, he's trying to get his teammates in rhythm. But I kind of like that about him and I think that's something that he took from Chris Paul, because Chris Paul did the same thing in OKC. Like, he wouldn't really do anything really throughout the first like 2 or 3 quarters. And in the fourth quarter, he would just absolutely cook you. Like, he would figure out the coverages you were trying to run. He would figure out how you were trying to guard him. And fourth quarter, he would just dice you apart. And that's why he was like the leader of like clutch points, clutch scoring, everything that year. And I think that Shai's kind of adapted that to his game in his own way. But yeah, as you said, there, much ado about nothing with Shai. We can move on to the number 3 player in the series, and I'm interested to see where you guys go with this. I guess I can go here. Yeah, I guess I'll go here. I'll let you guys both have one. I could, like I said, I can go a couple of different ways here, but I think I'm gonna go Chet Holmgren. I think I'm gonna stick with. I think I'm gonna round out the big 3 here, because I really was impressed with Chet. Down the stretch of the end of the season, excluding that Suns game, like the last time that we really got to see Chet before the playoffs, whenever we was running Chet at the 5 lineups, it felt like it was really uncomfortable, specifically like in the 2 big lineups. Felt like he was a bystander on offense. Felt like we wasn't utilizing him. Felt like he wasn't in rhythm. We couldn't get him going. And you could really feel the frustration in him when you was watching games. And come to find out, as we were gearing up for the playoffs and he gave the interview, sounds like, he was dealing with some nagging stuff. He was tired. He didn't have the stamina still built up from his injury. And he entered the playoffs at 100%. And boy, was he. Like, he hit the ground running. Like, this was the only game he didn't score at least 15 points. He had 11 tonight. The 3 has looked great. He had been really good on the glass before tonight. Also, 2 rebounds tonight. Really weird Chet game tonight. I don't know. Started out kind of that way in game 3 as well, but before he just went scorched earth with the 3-point shots, scoring 16 points in the third quarter in game 3 to help spearhead the comeback against the Grizzlies when we was down 30. And overall, man, like, I've just been really impressed with obviously knocking down the shots, but feels a lot more comfortable attacking closeouts. And the Grizzlies, the first 2 games, they were not concerned. Like, they were loading up on Shai, and whoever got the ball in the pick and pop, so be it. We will live with it. Well, after the first 2 games, when we just completely diced them up, they changed that a little bit, and they started closing out very aggressively. And credit to Chet for adjusting, specifically tonight. Attacking those closeouts, getting to the rim, and finishing through contact. Like, he had some really nice finishes. He had some powerful dunks. Like, I would say that that would kind of win to the Chet was injured, or not injured, but still not 100% towards the end of the season, because he looked more athletic than I've seen him for much of the season, like in this playoff series. So yeah, I think that Chet is the 3rd best player of the series, and I think that it's coming at a perfect time as we're about to match up against either Jokic or Zubac. Both of them provide different challenges, and we're going to need Chet to be on his P's and Q's either way.
Yep,
No, absolutely.
And my biggest takeaway from this series, or biggest moment I'm going to remember from this series, is probably going to be that third quarter and a little bit of the fourth quarter from Chet. How he hit 5 threes, scored 23 points in the second half to kind of spearhead that comeback win. And how before that, in the second quarter, Ja poked the bear. Ja had an open dunk, and then for no reason at all, just bumped into Chet and started talking crazy. Chet was like, "Don't do that." And then in the second half, Chet goes out and actually helps the team come back down 29. Obviously, there's a lot more context to it, but that was still an incredible moment. And then the whole series as well, Chet just looking so comfortable shooting from 3 as well is a big takeaway for me. His shot is usually pretty flat and pretty short, but it looks like he's emphasizing the arc more. And today he didn't make any 3s. He was 0 for 4, but for the series as a whole, it looked really nice. And it's going to be very important as we continue to run this double big lineup that Chet hits his open 3s.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't really argue with any of that, to be honest. I mean, you could definitely argue that maybe Caruso was the 3rd best player, but I think overall, because he has such an invaluable skill set that he's shown throughout the playoffs, especially in game 3, Chet definitely was the third best player in my opinion. But like that's so crazy to think about because it really feels like every single Thunder player showed up so far. But like especially with Chet, he was still impeccable, especially today as well. Like he had 4 blocks, one insanely skillful against Desmond Bain in the second quarter. I remember when Bain went with the sand through the side of Chet, and he still blocked it from behind before Bain got it up. That was just such an incredible block, and then later on finished through Euro dunk. He's just so insanely skilled. Even though he didn't shoot that well today, he let Shea do his job. J made his points, and yeah, Joe hit the threes for the Thunder today. It's just one of those games, like not everyone is always going to score the points. Sometimes it's going to be J-Dub, sometimes it's going to be Shea. A lot of times it's going to be Shea, if we're being honest, and sometimes it's going to be Chet. And yeah, Chet didn't bring as much points today, but what he's always going to bring is impeccable defense. He's always going to be there protecting the rim. He'll take on any challenge if needed. He's going to fight for position, trying to get the rebounds, also getting into the passing lanes. And like with him especially, like he also got 2 steals today. He knows how to be there, be disruptive, to alter any shot. And yeah, not really much else I could say there.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you, man. Like I've been just very impressed with Chet, and it bodes very well that our 3 best players were our 3 best players. Like it's great whenever your guys are all playing well. On both ends, I'll add, like obviously Chet with his rim protection, Dub just being disruptive as a defender, and Shea like just being opportunistic on defense. Like Shea isn't like the most sound defender, like he's not like a lockdown guy, but like. He's sneaky good. Like there was a couple times Jaren Jackson Jr. was trying to post up. Jaren Jackson and Edie was trying to post up Shea, and Shea would just like reach around on the entry pass and tip it out. He's squirrely a little bit as a defense, and yeah, he had 3 stocks today as well. So yeah, shout out to Big 3. So this is I think the 4th spot. In game 1. It might have been leaning Aaron Wiggins. I think he was the leading scorer for game 1. And this guy particularly didn't necessarily do anything scoring-wise. But games 2 through 4, this guy who I have labeled the bald-headed demon, one half of cookies and cream, Alex Caruso, I don't think there's any argument for him being the 4th best player.
X Factor. Like he is an actual player of X Factor for the Thunder so far. He does basically everything, but like 99% of his effort comes from the defensive side, it feels like. And he does it at such an elite level. It's just ridiculous, honestly. Every time I've seen him matched up against.
I assume he's saying Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yep, I think he said Jaren Jackson Jr. But I'll just take over for Alex until he unfreezes. But yeah, Alex Caruso and the energy he was bringing, his ability to guard Jaren Jackson Jr., switch on to anybody, just play like an absolute crackhead, play like his hair is on fire, even though he doesn't have hair. It was incredible to watch. And specifically with Jaren, something Caruso and the whole team really did. It was Chet would be on Edie. Chet would be down low just waiting in the paint. And then they would kind of guard in a position to where Jaren feels like he needs to spin. But then the second he spins, Chet is right there in the paint. And that's basically how he shot 4 for 12 today. Because they just did, or 3 for 12, because they just did that over and over. Mm-hmm. And then Caruso's ability to just steal the ball as well, just knock it loose, annoy guys. There were multiple plays. I don't know if you noticed it, chats, but Jaren Jackson just shoved him to the floor on one rebound attempt.
Yeah.
And on another play, Santi Aldama just kind of like pushed Caruso because he's just so frustrated with him. Edie felt the same way. But yeah, just OKC's ability as a team, and this is kind of led by Caruso, Kaysen, and Dort, just get under people's jerseys the whole game and just annoy them. And they just know that for these 48 minutes, if I hit a shot, if I miss a shot, whatever happens, it's going to be the most annoying kind of process to getting that shot attempt as it could possibly be. So yeah, that's how I feel about Caruso. You know, he got that extension midseason, about $80 million over 4 years. I thought it was a slight overpay, but then 4 games through this playoffs, I'm just kind of like, you know what? Give him the max while you're at it. He's just great. The energy he brings, it's so valuable and so helpful to this team. I really see the vision, and I like how you can kind of see how it's slowly transitioning to Kaysen, because last year Kaysen was a feisty defender, but he wasn't as just like willing to dive on the floor, willing to be aggressive. He was more so disciplined, and you can see a little bit of Caruso rubbing off on him. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, definitely. Like, trying to tip the ball out of the defender's hands. Like, him and Caruso, like, that, like, second half, I mean, it was mainly Caruso, but Kaysen was a part of it. Like, the second half of game 3 was, like, some of the most disruptive defensive minutes that I've ever seen. Like, it was perfect timing because I wrote an article about them, trying to push the cookies and cream nickname, but just basically saying that they are game wreckers on defense. Like, they come in and just completely wreck the flow of the game and completely just like push the game out of reach or bring you back in it. And it was perfect timing because game 3 that happened. Alex is back with us. As our guy T says in the chat, at least you froze with a smile. We have all frozen in very unflattering angles. So, hey, welcome back, Alex.
Thanks, guys, but I am still froze. Can't believe I froze while I was talking about Alex Caruso. Man. Oh, well. Yeah.
Hey, that's what
I
the
don't
closing
know.
ball handlers do whenever they're facing Alex Caruso, too. So,
Yeah. Probably
Desmond Bain was frozen the whole series. Scottie Pippen Jr. had to carry the load for them, the last 2 games especially.
Yeah.
So, yeah, don't feel too bad, Alex.
But still, shout out to Scottie Pippen Jr. though. Like, he really made a game for himself, and 2 days ago as well, game 3, like what was an incredible guard for the Memphis Grizzlies. And yeah, honestly, like everyone that said, yeah, Memphis has gotta scrap everything, gotta rebuild from scratch once again. I don't really think so. Like, they had to battle through injuries with Jar, with Jaylen Wells. I mean, you could definitely argue like Desmond Bain and Jaren Jackson Jr. didn't really show up throughout the playoffs. But other than that, they got their depth guys. Like, Memphis is deep, playoff deep, and you saw that, especially with the triple big lineup. And yeah, but still didn't matter for Alex Caruso. He was going to wreak havoc either way, and it kind of reminded me of that one crazy NFL draft quote that one of the players had, basically saying, like, football's child's play. Everyone plays the game for the love, and I'm there trying to suck the love of the game out of their eyes. That kind of feels like what Alex Caruso does to you on a nightly basis so far, and yeah, he is like he is him defensively. Honestly, like, with him, like, such a great team defender, I can only gush about him. Like, honestly, it's just so nice to see that he can take over games if needed defensively, and still be in the flow of the offense offensively. Like, it's both things that Giddey didn't really provide throughout the playoffs, and I'm still rooting for Giddey, but Giddey is closer to number 1 option and not really the team friendly option you want to have in OKC right now. So again, Thunder did everything right with the trade, Bulls did everything right with the trade. Can't complain, and I'm just happy to have him on the team.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I did ask for questions, before I figured out you guys were coming on, and we can kind of get to those here in a second. We'll finish out our top 5, and then we'll kind of get questions to end and talk about prospective matchups. That is one of the questions. But kind of previewing, kind of staying with Alex Caruso. I think Alex Bojack actually asked, is the Alex Caruso Josh Giddey trade the second best trade that Sam Presti's ever made?
I mean, I guess the best trade was the Paul George trade.
Of course.
So,
yes.
Yeah. To us, I definitely still think the Russell Westbrook trade was the second best because at the end of the day, you got Chris Paul out of it, who was going to mentor Shea. So, in my opinion, you have to take both trades into consideration there. But I definitely think coming in as number 3 definitely has to be Caruso because you didn't really trade for any other guy. You only got guys throughout the draft process. Minus Kendrick Williams, obviously, for Steven Adams. Um, but yeah, that's the third best trade Sam Presti's made in his career, in my opinion.
Yep. I would say it's probably in the top 5 just relative to value at the time, but value in general, I think it's pretty fair. Like both teams really got what they needed. But to what Alex was saying, I feel like the Westbrook for Chris Paul trade was probably better. And I think even the Ibaka for Oladipo and Sabonis trade, that was
Yeah.
pretty surprising
And
at the time.
Ersan Ilyasova, people forget. Come on now.
Yeah,
True.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, because I just Googled a random article just to help me remember Sam Presti trades in the past, but it's definitely up there the more I think about it, especially as this playoff run goes on. If Caruso keeps playing at this kind of level for all, hopefully, 4 rounds and the Thunder win the championship, like just winning a championship automatically boosts you like 2 or 3 spots higher in whatever ranking you make. So I bring that question back up at the end of the playoffs, and I'll feel differently than I do today. I'll say that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, people forget like it wasn't just like the Russell Westbrook Chris Paul switch. Like we also got 4 first-round picks alongside Chris Paul there. So like that, when you're talking about value, that was great value for at the time there. But yeah, I would say that. God, what was I gonna say? Oh, I've been saying this kind of all season. Specifically. I revisited like some of our predictions before the season, and we was all pretty adamant that we thought that Alex Caruso would start or at least be like 6-man. And once the season got going, his minutes were way lower than anybody expected. And obviously he missed time because of injury. And when he came back, he was still have these low minutes. And now he's in the playoffs. And let's see, like tonight he played 26 minutes. I gotta see what he played on these other games here, because I'm just curious at this point. Played 23 minutes in game 3. Let's see here. In game 2, he played 22 minutes, and I just pressed the wrong button, so I can't see game 1. But it feels like his minutes are ticking up. And my whole stance, like throughout the season, is we've kind of been pulling back on the reins of Alex Caruso all season long. Really trying to protect him from himself, because if he's on the court, he's diving for every basketball. Like he's just going to inject chaos into the game, be the absolute maniac and menace that he is, be the bald-headed demon that he is. But now that the playoffs are here, like it really felt like we were just trying to get him right for the playoffs. And now that he's in the playoffs, it's like we're just letting him loose. And obviously he's not in the starting lineup. I think that we have synergy. We have chemistry with the starting lineup as is. Whether you're starting Chet with Kaysen as the 5th starter, whether you're starting both of the big men together, like we have synergy and chemistry with that. So there's no reason to mess that up. But we've seen Alex Caruso close out games because not only his defense, but his connectivity on offense, his ability to knock down the shot, his ability to not make mistakes on the offensive end. So I think that, there's the 82 game player, and then there's the, they say 16 game player, but that's if you win all of them, which, hey, that would be awesome. I guess the Thunder are currently on pace to do that. But I think Alex Caruso is he's a playoff guy, not a regular season guy.
Yeah. And it's all about expended energy over time. And it's just like, it's impossible for him to play that level all season long. So it makes sense why the Thunder paced him. And I don't know if you guys remember, but early in the season, he was legitimately playing backup center minutes for us when both our centers were hurt. So just the random roles he was put in throughout the season as well kind of makes sense why it took him a minute to adjust to our team. But now that he's here and he's fully unleashed, it's a wonderful thing. I can't wait to see, as the matchups get tougher, see him guard Kawhi, see him guard Jokic, Jamal Murray, like whoever ends up being in the next round. And it's going to be a movie for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Nothing else to add.
All right, I like it. Now we get to this is where it gets a little bit divisive because there's a bunch of different ways you can go, and I don't think there's even like a 100% right answer. Who is the 5th best player for the Thunder in this series?
That is a tough question. I'll say Hartenstein. Fun fact: he's leading the Western Conference in rebounds per game. Maybe the whole NBA. I haven't checked the East, but I know
In the
he's leading
playoffs?
the West for sure. He's been a double machine. He's been a real way of generating offense when we have nothing going on. We just give it to Hartenstein, and he does a dribble handoff, and we usually get a decent shot, whereas it would have been a really bad shot without him. I don't know how you guys feel, but sometimes I get annoyed when he tries doing a little bit too much with the passes. But then again, I don't mind it. But he always tries like threading the tightest needle and doing like the craziest bounce pass. Sometimes it annoys me, but like he's such a good passer, I allow it. And yeah, just general having a big guy. Like every time he does something good, I get flashbacks of last year when it was just like Chet on his own trying to do everything that the big man's supposed to do, and then we have Jay Will as a backup, and now Jay Will's kind of a luxury on this team, and Hartenstein is really providing a lot of juice and a lot of versatility and just a lot of options for OKC to run on the court.
Yeah. Honestly, I'd probably agree with that. I mean, Hartenstein's got everything. He's the best free agency signing OKC's ever had. He provided, even throughout the series, OKC with the needed physicality and rebounding. Like, you could tell whenever he boxed out and Thunder went really in, like, a position, they still won so many 50-50 balls because they other players tipped the ball away in order to get to that point, to rebound the ball. And also his passing. Like, his passing is one of his best traits, in my opinion. I definitely agree, though. Like, at times he can be a bit too passive, like just really trying to get that one very special pass out there. But I don't know. It's also like, like he's trying to thread it into tight spaces and thinks he's got the connection going right now. He's in a flow state, but then it's like also somewhat of a miscommunication, and that's how these bad passes are created at times for him. But other than that, he's just incredible. Oh, and yeah, by the way, he's also German. That's the
I was about to say, you're not biased at all, right?
Not biased at all, exactly. But I mean, if I'd have to give it to someone else besides Hartenstein, because to give a shout out to anyone else, and this might sound something like the treasure was the friends we made all along type answer, but I kind of want to shout out the fans of Oklahoma City, because for the first 2 games, you really saw what they brought to the table. Everyone was putting on shirts. Everyone was creating this incredible atmosphere. Everyone was incredibly noisy, and it really disrupted Memphis by so much. Like, I love the atmosphere. It was night and day between Oklahoma City and Memphis. You Oklahomans, you rock. I love you all. And I really wished I'd be there for this year's playoffs, but I just can't. I don't have any money left. But man,
That's real.
Yeah. You guys are honestly great. I love the chemistry you bring to the team, and like I said, without you, OKC probably wouldn't have won by 49 or 18 points in game 1 and 2. Like, those games were incredible blowouts, and you were one of the biggest reasons why that was the case. And yeah, I mean, you saw game 3 and 4, obviously Memphis adjusted, but still, fans really make such a huge difference. Like, you are a difference maker, and please continue to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's kind of get to these questions. I got about 10 minutes until my family comes in, and they're all just going to be making a bunch of noise. So we'll try to wrap it up in a crisp 10 minutes. You guys actually asked questions, so we'll get to yours here in a second. Mason _noseball asked over under 3.5 years in the league for Zach Edey.
Over.
Oh, easy over.
Easy
Let's
over,
not
yeah.
get twisted. He's a rookie. He had a rough
Mhm.
series, but I still see the Zubac type upside in his game. So easy over
Yeah.
for my fellow Canadian, Zach Edey.
You're not biased
like,
either, are you?
he's definitely there. Like, I think he had 8, and 7 blocks this game.
Yeah, he had 7 blocks today for sure. I think
Yeah,
6 in the first half.
Yeah, no, he was swatting away everything. Like, obviously, was always getting to the paint because they knew that they couldn't hit anything from 3. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think he blocked 2 or 3 Chet jump shots today too. So
Yeah,
I mean,
so
you
too.
know, it's always going to be an issue whenever, like, you know, you have to switch out on guys like Shea or something like that. But in terms of like just belonging in the league, like I think he's been good. I think he was good for the most part in this series as well. Like, even, you know, guys like Jonas Valanciunas have a place in this league. So I mean, if guys like JV have a place in this league, Zach Edey does too. So I think that's awesome. Wow, I didn't even realize this. Shout out Zoom Doof said that OKC has now beat the Grizzlies 13 times in a row. That is a nuts stat.
That is
shout
crazy.
out to him for that.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So I guess the only other questions are your guys. Hayden asked revenge series for Lou. I don't really know what revenge. I guess the revenge for James Harden, you know, blocking his 3 in the bubble. I guess that's what you could say. I do look forward to that matchup. I do think that obviously James Harden, to his credit, he's been a borderline, if not an All-NBA guy this year. And he's been great in the playoffs as well. If the Clippers are the matchup, you got to think that Lou is getting the James Harden assignment and Dub is probably the guy guarding Kawhi. So, hey, I'm all for some Lou revenge.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Will be a very interesting series in my opinion. Whoever OKC is going to get.
I'd argue Harden's been getting his revenge because every time he matches up against Harden, it's a rough night for Harden. And just like the series is about to be 2-2, and Harden is 2 for 7 from the field. And I'd expect a lot of similar stat lines to that if the Clippers end up being the matchup and Lou Dort sees the opportunity to guard Harden for at least 4 games in a playoff setting. I think it's going to be a rough time for James.
Yep, I'm definitely with that. And, you know, Lou excels with guarding guys like Harden that like to dribble the basketball a lot. You know, he doesn't do as well on a guy like Curry or even like a Bane. Like, Bane isn't much of a creator off of the dribble as a guy like Harden. So, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, let's transition into Alex Dr. Prof's question. Alex Dr. Prof asked, which team would you rather face in the second round? You know, right now, the Nuggets are up 22 points on the Clippers in LA, about to tie up the series, headed back to Denver. Like, it's setting up to be the perfect scenario. This series is at least going 6 games. It's probably going 7 games. 2 really good teams, 2 veteran-laden teams, just absolutely beating the crap out of each other, literally. As you guys got on the stream, I was like, hold on, I spilt my Dr. Pepper everywhere. I said, fight, because Aaron Gordon and James Harden were just about to tee off on each other. So, like, you know, the ideal scenario seems to be playing out in terms of, like, you know, how it's going to work out for us getting all this rest. But if you're asking me who I would rather play between the Nuggets and the Clippers, as crazy as it sounds, give me the Nuggets, because I think the Clippers I think they have an argument going into this going into the playoffs. They have an argument for being the second best team in the Western Conference, just the way that they have played down the stretch. Kawhi Leonard has been on a absolute tear in the playoffs. Zubac's been playing out of his mind. Harden, as we mentioned, is an All-NBA guy. They've got veterans as the role guys between Derrick Jones Jr., Chris Dunn. Freaking Ben Simmons can go out there and give you some minutes, and, you know, he's not like a crazy contributor, but defensively he can be a problem. He's a long guy that you could throw at a guy like Shea or Dub. Like, they're very well coached. And like Ty Lue, for my money, is one of the best coaches left in the playoffs in terms of like X's and O's and adjustments and whatnot. So I know it sounds crazy, you know, choosing the Jokic matchup, but I just don't believe in this Denver team. You know, longevity wise, like, I think that they've got a good, like, 5-6 guys, but I think that ultimately our depth would win out. And I don't think for barring a term from the people on Twitter, I don't think we would troll at all in that series. I think that we would put the pedal to the metal against that series and try to make it happen.
Yep, for sure. I agree. I feel relatively the same about both teams if they matched up against the Thunder. I would rather face the Nuggets though. Fun fact about the Nuggets, you mentioned their depth. Russell Westbrook is the only player to hit a three for them off the bench. So that just shows
he was out tonight.
Yeah, and he was out tonight. And it's so far, it's still true. So garbage time is about to happen, so that might change. But up until Game 4, Russell Westbrook was the only player off the bench to hit a three. So that just shows how rough the Nuggets are right now. Jamal Murray isn't playing great. They have kind of internal chemistry issues. Aaron Gordon is playing through injury. MPJ is playing through injury. So they're kind of just like this beaten up team that's hanging on by a thread. And that thread is a pretty thick one because it's Nikola Jokic. But overall, I'd rather focus on just stopping Jokic instead of facing the Clippers and all their versatility and all their depth. But overall, I think I would predict the same number of games, more or less, regardless of who we play.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, it's definitely going to be one of those games where you have to pick your poison. Like either you go up against the best player in the world or one of the best coaches with very good threats. It's either way. I don't know how to reiterate it. Honestly, going into the playoffs, I was more in favor of facing the Clippers maybe because I felt like you could force more turnovers on them. And I definitely still feel that way. But yeah, I mean, I'm really more concerned about the Clippers bench than I am with the Nuggets bench right now. And if we learned something from last year's second round matchup, you got to be worried about the rotation players because these are the guys that you have to worry about. And right now, the biggest guy, as crazy as it sounds, the biggest guy I'm worried about right now would be Nicolas Batum because he's hitting his threes so far.
Yeah.
He's playing great defense so far, getting the boards. Every time he steps on the floor, he does plays for the Clippers. Like he turns games around, in my opinion. So I know it might be a bit crazy, but I definitely am a bit more concerned about him rather than anyone else from the Nuggets bench. Probably the closest one would be Michael Porter Jr. as the second biggest threat, like especially throughout the shooting. But I definitely don't think he's got the defensive capabilities of Nicolas Batum. So, yeah, like Skid said, I definitely also would go with OKC against Denver right now. Change that for now. Rather go and just all drink into the zone. Always be uncomfortable with Jokic. Make him feel uncomfortable. Put Caruso on him. Put Chet on him. Put Hartinstein on him. And throw different looks out there so he has to solve completely different looks every single time. I don't want to see anything else because I'd also think because the Nuggets like to hedge with Jokic a lot, Shea is going to get into the zone more because he's going to see the space. Like there's not really a huge rim protector going to be there.
Yeah,
but I mean, yeah. Then again, maybe Jalen Pickett is going to have an immaculate defensive effort on Shea in a series. Maybe it's Peyton Watson. That could happen as well. They're not having huge of an impact so far, but yeah, right now my feelings are tending for the Nuggets against OKC and OKC in 6.
No, I definitely agree. Like I'll put out the caveat. Like I'm not scared of either team. Like I think that we have different advantages over each club. I just took it to European soccer there, saying club there, but I think we have different advantages over each team. I think that like you were saying, like the Clippers also pose more of a threat defensively. Obviously with Kawhi, Chris Dunn, who many people said that if he played more, he would have been an all defensive type guard. Derrick Jones Jr., who, we've seen kind of match up with Shea in the past, and then Zubac, who's also got some all defensive love, and all NBA love as well as just a player. So I think defensively they could cause more problems, whereas the Nuggets have Peyton Watson, who is a solid defender, but he's untested, especially against Shea, like in the playoffs. And then just the rim protection. Like, we are not scared of Jokic there. We will put him in every switch. We will attack him all day long. So, yeah, I lean the Nuggets, but if it's the Clippers, I'm not mad. And, last question here. This is Yanni's at OKC Skittles. And it's a really fun question. Which narrative has more juice? Shea versus Jokic, battle of the MVP candidates with the MVP award likely announced in that series, or Shea versus the team that drafted him and traded him, and also traded Dub, OKC, with the rebuild reaching this point and, kind of coming to a head. Asking for a narrative standpoint, not best matchup. I'll just go ahead and say I think that the MVP narrative is going to trump everything. And honestly, it might be the one that I want the most because, man, like as we say, like we've had so many Shea detractors like in this round, like talking about his field goal percentages and how inefficient he is and how much his team doesn't need him to be a dominant team. And, oh, look at Jokic do this. Look at, he did a triple-double. It doesn't matter that his team lost. Like, he's definitely more valuable. It would just be great to see Shea outplay Jokic, head-to-head matchup and get to send the Denver Nuggets home while winning the MVP. It would just be like icing on the cake. So that's my answer, but I do like the question.
Yeah, definitely very interesting question. It's more like, are you more rooting for the individual narrative or are you rooting for the team narrative? And since I'm a team guy, I'm going with the team narrative for now. Like the young guys who got the Clippers future against the Clippers past, all happening on the Paul George trade. I mean, it's definitely more sided towards OKC. If you were to go with a closer narrative, between Shea and Jokic, then I'd agree that would probably be the way to go. But man, I just like the team narrative, because it would definitely solidify Sam Presti as one of the best GMs of all time.
Yep. Yeah, and I think from the like NBA or general NBA fan perspective, the MVP battles are probably better. There's a lot of legendary ones from the past. The most iconic one is probably Hakeem versus David Robinson, where David Robinson won it, but then Hakeem embarrassed him in that series. So this would be a good chance for Shea to win it and embarrass Jokic by shutting those narratives to bed, being like, I won the MVP, I deserved it. But from a Thunder fan's perspective, who like had to deal with the rebuild and was pretty upset like 5-6 years ago when we gave up on our team and all that stuff, this would be really rewarding. If you just think about, we got this guy. I thought of him as like a throw-in the trade or a decent piece. And now he's leading us against this Kawhi, supposed to be Paul George as well, super team, and helping us lead past them, kind of the potential start of something really special with winning championships. I think that would have more kind of sentimental value, but from an NBA narrative standpoint, it'd probably be the MVP one.
Yeah, I really just want to shut the Nuggets fans up. There's one that's in my mentions, like the past 2 games, like he'll just randomly at me and like tweet brick emojis. I'm like, dude, I've never seen somebody more rent free in my life. Like, I'm not responding to you, but like, what the heck? But yeah, no, either way, it's gonna be fun. I do want to give shout outs to the chat, people chiming in here. We got Love Thy Neighbor saying either team we face next, I truly believe it'll come down to depth. We all know we're by far the number 1 team in depth defensively and offensively. In a 7-game series, we will win. The Clippers are a deeper team, in which case I prefer we play the Nuggets because those non-Jokic minutes we should dominate. Absolutely 100% agree. Couldn't say anything better. T says Ty Lue frightens me. Yeah, I mean he's definitely playoff tested. And hey, this Dave Adelman has not been the coach for very long for the Nuggets. And if he had it his way, he would let Jokic coach the team. So completely understand that. Zoomdo says NBA or MVP matchup. I want that. Yeah, shout out that. He also says playing against he hates playing against Zubac. He's always a pain in the butt. Let's see here. Bradley Weirich says, I believe we can sweep both the Clippers and the Nuggets. Let me tell you what. If we sweep either the Clippers or the Nuggets, the narrative around the Thunder is going to be a lot different than it has been.
Absolutely. Unless like another freak accident happens, like for whatever reason, Jokic gets injured, then yeah. And I don't want that to happen, obviously. I want to beat the Nuggets and the Clippers full strength.
Yeah, I didn't want... Yeah, I hated that the jaw thing happened just because he's fun to watch. And also, like, I don't want an excuse. Like, I want to beat your team at your best, so...
Yeah, 100%.
Let's see here. T says, cookies and cream, the wrecking machine. Love it. He says, put it out on a t-shirt. Stay tuned. That's all I got to say. Master Blaster says, nothing like a sweep. Now it's time for Ice Cold Dr. Pepper. Hey, absolutely. And I did spill it before we started, and I was sad. Alex Bowerjack, fatherhood baby. Yes, sir. Nova's still chilling over here on the iPad. Fam just got here, so fatherhood is kicking in hard. Rolling Thunder, sweep. Cooper Adams also sweep. And then I missed this. Bowerjack had a greeting for you, Alex.
Yeah, I mean it's closer to evening right now than morning, but
it's technically the AM for you, so
we'll take that.
I'm definitely going to sleep right now, though. Honestly,
absolutely.
Not even going to brush my teeth. I'm being honest.
Hey, I mean, you just got to brush them again when you wake up, so why not? Topher, sweet baby, absolutely. So, yeah, shout out to everybody in the chat. Like I said, Thunder swept the Grizzlies. We're the first team to advance to the second round, and I mean, we're gonna be the first team for a couple of days because the only team that's really able to sweep their opponent is the Cavs, and they just won Game 3 today. So, we will hold that title for at least a couple of days. We get a much-deserved rest. And, we will find out here in the next few days who our next opponent is going to be. And we will cover all that on the Top of Thunder podcast. If you're in the chat, appreciate you guys being here. Go ahead and leave a comment down below who you want to play in the second round and why. Like the video if you're here or if you're watching it retroactively, not posthumously, as I like to say. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're so close to 800 subscribers. We're trying to get to 1,000 before the end of the playoffs. But, hey, we got to get to 800 before we get to 1,000. Big dreams. Dream big, right? Also hit the notification bell so you miss out when we go live, as we will after every game. Next week's kind of up in the air. I think we'll kind of go back to our Tuesday, Friday format, but I'll just have to talk to the guys. Stay tuned. We'll tweet out programming notes. But without further ado, I definitely appreciate Alex and Yanni coming on the podcast. So I didn't have to talk to myself basically for 45 minutes to an hour. But always great to talk to you guys. I want to give the floor to you to plug anything you guys want to plug, what you're working on, where folks can find you.
Yeah.
Alex, you want to do the plug?
I mean, you can always come listen to us at Yamology Pod. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on any music streaming platform where podcasts are available. Would also like to promote our YouTube channel because Skid and Matt are both putting out incredible recaps of different NBA playoff series games so far. Got to set my game up as well. But yeah, I'm still just chilling a little bit. But I'm definitely also trying to get more recaps out there. You can find me on Alex Dr. Prof. You can find Matt at SGA for MVP, and you'll
with
find
the number 4. With the number 4.
With the number 4, that's true. SGA for MVP, and obviously OKC Skittles from Yamology. You can find him at OKC Skittles on Twitter.
Yep, very well said. Tune into the YouTube. I will say Matt and Alex are very good at breaking down X's and O's. Alex primarily on his Twitter page, Matt on our YouTube clips, and just on our general podcast as well. We upload once a week. And yeah, thanks for having us on, chats.
Absolutely, man. It's always a blast, always a good time. Shout out to Matt. Sorry you missed out, man. We'll have to get the whole gang on here eventually. Hey, if the Thunder keep going, into the finals, I think, spoiler, we're going to have Nerd Session on to preview the next game or the next series whenever that comes out. But, hey, as we get to the Western Conference Finals, maybe we'll have to get the whole gang on to preview the Western Conference Finals and whatnot.
Yeah, sure. We'd love to do that.
Yeah, and then maybe we can get a Topic Thunder Yamology Marvel Rivals game going, and Yanni can play with us. Dang it!
I still have to hop on. I'm gonna be like holding the team back, but I'm down to do that. And quick note on Matt. I just want to give him a shout out. He's in Eastern Europe right now, chilling on a farm, so he's having a good time.
Russell Westbrook on the farm. Shout out Lil Dicky. But with that being said, hope everybody has a great night. God bless, hooping you can, and as always, Thunder up!
Thunder up!
Thunder up!
Yeah.